This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
A warm welcome to all the viewers. So we found this afternoon a beautiful young male leopard here in the dry Timbavati River. And you can see the way that he's like lying down with his back towards us. There's actually a kill in a tree not too far away from us, and hopefully soon we'll be able to see it. But it's just so amazing. Like, leopards aren't often an animal that you see on Game Drive, but we're so fortunate that early on, as we were starting our adventure, we were able to see this beautiful leopard. You can just see that the way that he's staring up, he's actually looking in the direction of that tree. But for everyone, jump on board on this live safari in the African bush. Down at the moment, so I can imagine, like, after quite a bit of like moving, probably during the evening, early on went up towards this particular tree where there's a carcass up in the tree, and then eventually from there it came down, decided to come and lie down here in the river, and you can see very, very relaxed. And I'd like to share a little bit about this leopard during this over the next little while here, but it is actually a young male leopard that we do refer to as the Makoti male. I'll get you right in a minute about what exactly does that mean. But I'm Nikki here at Beyond Ngala, and with me on the camera is Owen. So if we head back to this leopard, so with this, or with the name the Makoti male, so early on when he was around about 8 months old, his mom passed away. And after his mom passed away, it was really hard for him in order to survive. So what he used to do is he used to go up into the trees and catch vultures, and hence the name Makoti, because Makoti means vulture in Shangaan, that's the local language that's spoken in this part of South Africa, up in the northeastern side. And so after that, he was able to survive, and he's actually gotten to the stage now where he would go and scavenge. So sometimes he'll chase other smaller predators off their prey and go and steal it, and then hopefully drag it up into a tree and then slowly feast off of it, like he's doing right now.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon, and behind the camera we've got Marcel this afternoon. And we're going to be exploring a new part of the reserve that we haven't brought you to too many times on these SABC shows. There's a whole bunch of woodland behind me, and we're going to be exploring these woodlands and some of the clearings in between the groves of trees this afternoon in search of a mother cheetah and her two youngsters. But in the meantime, we've managed to find quite an attractive little plant. Have a look at this. So you might be able to see these beautiful white flowers. And if you look very closely, have a look at how every little flower has got 4 petals. And also see these very sharp looking spines, like a little fork. And this is called a sand num-num. And it's a plant that we find here, especially in the south of and beyond Phinda. And we stopped here because it's just giving off the most amazing fragrance. All of these little white flowers producing the most wonderful smell. And there's been lots of different kinds of butterflies that have been flying around this little bush over the last few minutes. Twin dotted borders and yellow pansies and common jokers. And they've all been feeding on these beautiful flowers. Unfortunately, no butterflies around at the moment now, Murphy's Law. But still just a beautiful sight to take in. But from here, we're going to carry on making our way down into the bottom of this dip behind me to, as I said earlier, go in search of that mother cheetah and her two youngsters.
This all sounds so exciting. And out here on Djuma Game Reserve in the Selby Sands, we are at a dam called Buffelshoek Dam, which is in our northeastern corner. There you have a grey heron, as well as a blacksmith lapwing. Chilling out here at the dam. Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I've got BK on camera this fine afternoon. It's about 20 degrees Celsius, so 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's a reason that we're out here on the dam wall. You see, right here this morning, our dominant male leopard, Tingana, who hasn't been seen for a while. Weeks before yesterday, and yesterday morning he was around, and this morning as well. So we're hoping to find out where he is and where he may have gone. So we're going to go on a bit of a tracking adventure in this area.
Hello everybody and welcome to my vehicle. I'm also coming to you live from Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. Hello, my name is Steve, joined by Niels on camera, and we are very excited to have you with us. We're currently sitting in the drainage line where the wind is a lot less because once again, like yesterday, the wind is a little bit uncomfortable, and we found this wonderful little group of impala males on the right, and then just slowly disappearing into the thickets on the left is a small little group of Nyala females. Now, they're not very easy to see at the moment. It's because they are camouflaged, but both these species, Nyala and Impala, are mixed feeders, and they will feed on grass when the grass is green and leaves when everything starts getting drier. But you can see now that where the Impalas are, their heads are down, and they're feeding. There's actually a fair bit of green grass that's come through. As late as it is in the year, it is July already, I can't believe it. This time last year, there wasn't a blade of grass to be seen. So we're in for a good year. The animals are making hay while the sun shines, getting nice and strong and nice and fit. And we should be expecting more rain and growth by November time. So it's only a few months to go. These animals try and make themselves as strong and physical as they can, so as to prevent themselves being caught by predators.
So from live Impala, all the way down here to Ambion and Gal, now you'll have a look and you'll see there's actually an Impala kill up in this tree. Now this is the one that we was like talking about earlier today, about this young male leopard. And remember earlier, as he was lying down in the sand, he was constantly looking up into the tree, and he was looking at that Impala carcass there. There's not much left, but I mean, for him, being a young male leopard, he has to be very opportunistic. You never know where his next meal is going to come from. He's still very young, so he's not as experienced hunter as he would be in the next 6 or 7 years. And so because of that, he will try and protect that against any of the other birds or maybe other leopards that might try and get a little bit of that Impala. Now, Dallas, with the leopard, they normally hunt early in the morning or late in the evening. They can hunt in the day, I mean, as we mentioned, so they are opportunistic. They never know when they are going to have a meal. So if they are moving from one area to another for water, for even marking their territory, if they stumble across possibly Impala, Duiker, any antelope, probably their size, a little bit bigger and smaller, they'll try and hunt them.
Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, leopards will hunt any time of the day, really. Opportunistic. And these two antelope that we've got, we haven't managed to show you the Nyala yet, but these two antelope are definitely right up there on a male leopard's diet. And they're hanging out in a little mixed group here. A few males, a few female Nyalas hiding there, all feeding. And down here in this depression, the wind is very, very low, so the leaves aren't moving. These animals get very agitated. I get agitated in the wind, and I'm not being hunted on a daily basis. These animals are being hunted all the time. And so they need to feed. They need to get their conditions strong. And when the wind is blowing, you'll often find these animals going into depressions or going behind hills or going somewhere where there's a bit of a wind buffer. Niels, do you want me to move up just a touch there? Oh, you're good. Just a touch. Okay, well, we're just going to move up. We're going to be staying with these impalas and be going right back to us shortly. Impala. Hello everybody. How are you all doing this afternoon? Yes, oh, let's go back now so we can go back now. That was a very badly timed starting of my car there, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Well, we're with impalas and some nyalas, and it is wonderful down here in the drainage, just on in the sunshine, and wonderful to have all of you, our regular viewers, with us. I am hoping to come across some tracks of Tundi. Hello everybody, welcome back to Djuma. You are live with us once again, and our impalas are not playing very nicely with us here. They are hiding behind the bush. And please, if you have any questions and comments, we are live and interactive. I'd love to hear from you on the hashtag WildEarth. Throw them in on the YouTube chat stream, or if Twitch is your preferred platform, please do so. Let's move back slightly there, Niels, because our little family of animals here has decided that they're a bit camera shy. And it looks like, there we go, you can tell me when you got him. A couple of boys. And if you have any questions for the kids, please let the parents send through questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Hello, All-Star. You want to know how high they can jump? Well, I've seen impala jump up very high, and it's actually quite amazing to see how they can jump. They can jump about 12 feet, or 12 meters, full speed. They can jump enormously, 9 meters or so, 10 meters at a full speed. They spring up, and they could quite easily clear 2, maybe 2.5 meter, even 3 meter fence at full speed. But standing right there on the ground, they're able to jump probably 1.5 meters directly off the ground to try and avoid being caught by a leopard.
Welcome back to And Beyond Panda, everyone. Just while we've been driving down the hill, heading towards those clearings and amongst this woodland, I've come across 2 pretty interesting looking rocks, and they both look quite different, so we'll talk about one at a time. But let's start with this one over here. So have a look at all the different colors in this rock. And you see there's bits of gray, almost a bit of like a purpley color, a bit of red, a bit of orange, and then dots of white as well within this rock. And if you look very closely, there's also lots of air bubbles, these little holes. So that's what these little holes would have been made by, air bubbles, and that helps to help us identify this as a kind of igneous rock. And this will have been formed during the volcanic past of our reserve, while land masses were being pushed up and volcanoes were erupting. And the fact that there's so many different colors in here, and the fact that there's so many different shapes of particles within this piece of rock tells us that this formed during something violent, so probably during a volcanic eruption. And this fragment of rock will have been thrown out of the volcano, and then over time it's eroded away and it's been washed down here to this little patch where we found it. So pretty interesting, and it's thanks to these volcanic origins that we've got such wonderful nutritious soil in this part of the reserve, and that's the clearings that we're going to be heading into just now. But another interesting little rock that we found over here, so have a look at this. Look at how different it looks compared to the first one. See how there's all these lines that run down this piece of rock, and they almost look like the insides of, if you were to cut a cross section through a tree. And it's because this was once a tree. This is a piece of petrified wood, so basically some fossilized wood. Linda, you're saying that you love geology. Linda, it's a very very important and very useful thing to know about, and very interesting because it's the basis pretty much of all life on Earth, basically. plants need soil, and of course we all get our food from plants and the animals around us too. So the basis of the ecosystem, I suppose. Yeah, so a piece of rock from a volcano, and a piece of rock that's not a rock, but some fossilized wood. Sammy Jane, you're asking what petrified means? Sammy Jane, it's a term that refers to basically fossilized wood. So it's wood that has been, maybe the tree fell into a swamp or into some very soft sediment, and then over time, kind of fossilization or petrification, however you'd like to say it, has occurred, where the kind of the basic elements of the wood have been replaced with rock. Yeah, so pretty awesome. We're gonna put these rocks back where we found them, and we're gonna carry on heading down into those plains to go see if we can find that mother cheetah and her youngsters.
Just having another look at this male leopard, because you can see he hasn't really moved since the last time we saw him. So often with a leopard in particular, it's so nice to be able to look at different features of it, because that's how we can identify the different individuals. Now, if we start off with the tail, have a look at the different colors. I mean, you'll see it starts with a lot of white under the tail and quite a bit of black on top of it. And then look at the different spots. It's almost like these black spots. And as you get towards the back, it starts fusing into these beautiful rosette patterns around. And then from there on, if you head towards the ears, you'll see quite a bit of black behind the ears and beautiful white whiskers. So all stars. With the leopard, I'm not too sure exactly what the bite force would be. I know it's not in comparison to that of a lion or a hyena, but I'm not too sure in terms of the actual amount, what it would be. I would love to definitely go and read up a little bit more about it, and hopefully on the next show, we'll be able to share that information. Just look at how he's decided to lie down. Now, often with a leopard, so often if they do lie down like this, you can see he's very relaxed. He's almost pointing his ears backwards, and it's almost like if the wind blows from a different direction, he'll be able to smell whatever might be there. So rather than with a leopard, often things that could potentially kill them is lions. So lions is quite a big killer of leopards. If they do find a leopard or corner them, they'll try and kill them because they do see them as competition. When leopard cubs are small, chances are hyenas could go for them. Pythons. I'm just trying to think, like if a leopard, especially the young cubs, are close to any water crocodiles potentially. So out of my personal experience, I've probably seen also quite a few other leopards killing one another, especially some of the males. If they move into a territory and there's a female with young cubs, they tend to kill the cubs so that that female can go into heat again and they can mate with that female. Just look at the colors of his eyes and also those beautiful long whiskers. You'll notice he also still has quite a bit of pink around the nose. Oh, I'm hoping that he's deciding to turn around. Look at that white belly. You can also notice there's like just in the back. His belly's quite bulged, and that's because of the carcass that he's been feeding on for the last 2 days. Might even be a fly or something that's bothering him. Look at how he's flicking his ears, like moving his head, probably trying to see where this fly is. It's so interesting, like on the back we saw those beautiful rosettes, which was like quite a few spots that were fused together. And if you look at him now, like look at all those black spots in that contrast of white. Jen, with the Makoti male, he's just over 2 years old now. And how we know that is because his mother was quite a relaxed female that was normally around the southern part of the reserve. So what I would like to do is just take a little map here and show you more or less where this male leopard has been moving around, and also where he was born. So normally we don't try and name any of the animals that we do find the reason for, or what we try and do is we try and give them a description of the area or possibly some of the habits that they have. Now this one, as we mentioned earlier, was because he caught vultures and then the name the Makoti male. But we'll just have a look at him and make sure that he doesn't stand up. But in the meantime, while we do that, I just want to I have a little grass blade here just to make it a bit easier for us to point out so that my fingers aren't in the way. So this is just a beautiful map of Angola right over here. So this is the northern side, the southern side. This over here is on the western side, and this is the eastern side here. Now, if you look at the point of this grass, so we are currently in the riverbed right over here. Now, this male, his mom, used to have this whole area right over here. But eventually, when she passed away, he could still stay in this area. Hence, if he didn't show any dominance, as soon as he starts marking his territory, starts rasping, the other males in this area will then start pushing him out. But I think for now, so he is just maneuvering in this area here. So also what we've noticed just earlier on, he defecated here in the river and immediately he covered it up. And I'm sure because there was another male leopard that was seen here this morning here, there's a good chance. So I'm just going to go back to him because he does look like he might have picked up his head. So there's a good chance he's just trying to make himself as invisible as possible towards these other males because he doesn't want them to chase him out of the area, because this is the area that he knows so well, especially learning from mom and being in this area his whole life. Just have a look at how he's decided just to lie down like facing us. But I do enjoy his colors. Like, it's just such a beautiful man. It almost looks like he has a massive collar as well, like if all the spots around his neck, from his shoulder all the way underneath to his chin. And of course those beautiful spots next to his whiskers. It almost looks like that second row is fused all together in one black line.
We are still on the lookout for our dominant male leopard, Tingana. And here we have some impala. Going through their now afternoon ablutions. Here are some male impalas, which is just great because in our search for our dominant male leopard Tingana, they might just give us some clues in the form of alarm calls. You can see they're chewing away and they look a little bit alert. Remember, if you have any questions about them or anything at all, you can use that hashtag WildEarth and chat to us, because this is happening right now, live across several locations in South Africa. These impalas are chewing away as you're sitting in your lounge or wherever watching us. They seem not particularly alert, but also not very relaxed. That's because there's a bit of wind, and that can disrupt the smells. And if there is a predator around, which we suspect there is, I told you about the leopard, then they may get a whiff every now and then, so they're a little bit alert. Tom, you'd like to know when the rutting season is for these impala. Impala's rut starts around May. So the May-June time is when you'll hear a lot of the yes, that's how they sound when they're rutting. So many of the ewes that we see, so the females, many of them will be pregnant. Changes in the conditions of the environment is what prompts the testosterone levels in these rams to go up and the whole season to kick off.
Welcome back to my vehicle, everybody. We are with a small herd of elephants. that are sort of out in the woodland doing a spot of grazing at the moment. There's a female on the left, and she's actually tuskless, and she's got a youngster to the right. Now, tuskless elephants are part of what happens in the population. It's not the most common of things, but you do find a few females, mostly females, without tusks. It's just a genetic variation. But you'll see that her youngster is right there next to her. And if you're watching us yesterday, remember I was explaining that elephants will learn from a mum. They learn what to eat. They learn how to access the food. Bear in mind, there's a seasonal change. Elephants are able to access all the food in the environment, from leaves to the grass roots, to the bark of the trees, any fruits, anything like that. Here we go. You can see she's got no tusks and a mouthful of grass. Tyler wants to know, how long do an elephant's tusks get? Well, obviously each and every individual is different. Some of the biggest tusks recorded, I'm trying to think of the length now, but it's a good couple of meters in length. Some of the big tuskers we find in the Kruger, their tusks nearly touch the ground. There we go. She's just knocking all the dust and the soil off of the roots of that grass, because she wants to eat the grass and the roots. The grass's adaptation to being burnt is to store all the goodness and all the life of the grass underground, so that when fire comes, it's able to re-sprout. Elephants know that. So if you sort of almost add a meter and a half onto this female's shoulders, and the tusks go all the way to the ground, some elephants are able to do that. It is very, very impressive.
Welcome back, everyone. We've made it to a little clearing down here in amongst the thickets, and we've come across quite an interesting looking little plant. Have a look at this, everybody. So I'm just going to turn it ever so slightly to face towards you. Look at all those spiky white, almost like petals, and then on the top there, these reddish, orangey, brown kind of flower parts. And this is a kind of flower called a doll's protea. Now, it's, despite the name, not actually a protea, even though it does look a little bit like one. It's actually a member of the daisy family. And this is where it likes to grow, in these open clearings, in these little grasslands in between the patches of thicket. And one of the interesting things about it, obviously, like I said, that is the actual flowering part. So that is where little insects will come and feed on the nectar. And when it produces seeds, this is where the seeds will grow, and where little insects and their larvae will come and feed. Sharon, you're asking a very interesting question. You're asking, why do lots of bushes and plants and trees have spikes on them or thorns on them? And Sharon, it's to help to protect them against herbivores. In some cases, it will prevent an animal actually eating it at all. And in other cases, like for example, in the case of elephants, because their mouths are so tough, they can eat things that have got spikes on them, but it will slow down the rate at which they feed on it, and so it will therefore afford them some protection. Now, very interesting that you talk about that is that, so one of the uses of this, it's got many medicinal uses, one of which apparently if you boil it down, it's used in traditional medicine as a blood strengthener to give to women if they've had a very difficult childbirth, or if they've had difficulty in childbirth. But chatting to one of my colleagues who lives in one of the nearby communities, he reckons that this little doll's protea, with its very spiky little protrusions around here, he reckons it makes a very efficient kind of blocker. If you've got little holes in your walls of your house and you're worried about mice getting in, he says that if you stick one of these little flowers into that hole, it will deter any rodents or any pests from coming into your house. So a fantastic little flower. We're going to leave this here, and like I said, we've now come into these open clearings, and we're going to keep heading in an easterly direction from here to go see if we can find that mother cheetah and her youngsters.
Well, good luck, Damon. I hope you find that cheetah. Really special to catch up with the fast cats. We're with one of the very slow animals, that, not that they are slow by nature, just everything they do is very well thought out and at a medium pace. It's a nice big female elephant with her youngster. The youngster's very close by. I explained that they learn what to eat. And it's really, really incredible. Stark, these areas are rich in biodiversity, and coming from so many different locations, you get to see all of it, which is quite incredible. An enormous amount of mammal and bird species, and so many different plants. And a lot of the areas change due to the soil, the underlying soil that we have there, and with the climate. So if you change two of those, you can change plant species, animal species very, very quickly due to the fact that the soil and the climate is a massive impact on the habitat. And the habitat is where animals occur. Animals occur in specific habitat. That's how we know how to find them. You change those habitats, you get more or different species occurring. Elephants are quite a wide-ranging savanna species, so the habitat is quite wide and broad. They just need water and lots of food. Christy, that is a very good question. It is indeed. They do struggle a little bit when it comes to accessing the nutrients in the bark. Now they can't. It's like almost having no object to break things with or to tear into the bark with. They do make a plan. They do feed on different substances. They'll still feed on grass. They can put their mouth. I'll just roll slightly there for you, Niels. Just get her mouth. Don't have to start the car. That's fine. That'll work. They will actually just stick their mouth around the branches as well. They won't use the tusk to break it. But, you know, they do have a slight disadvantage versus elephants with tusks. Elephants with tusks are able to gouge into the bark. They're able to turn branches across the tusk as well and to snap them. But, you know, she's in very good condition and she will adapt. Elephants are very adaptable, and if you're bored without them, you learn how to adapt without them, which is very, very cool. But right now she's favoring some grass. Long grasses. They seem to be eating and chewing all day long. Elephants must get very sore jaw, eating all the day or sleeping a little bit, but constantly on the move, hand to mouth. But we are not going anywhere. We're going to stay here with this herd and see what they get up to. Hello everybody, let's just move forward slightly. You can stay there, Niels. I'll just pop. There we go. What a wonderful, beautiful sight here. Mother teaching daughter or son, who knows. Let's have a closer look at what tree it is that they're feeding on. Oh, it's a little russet bush willow with a hairy quarry there. Very nice shady patch for some shade-loving grasses.
I'm just amazed at how this leopard blends into the grass around it. Now, if you look at that little patch of grass just above like the belly area, or let's just look at the stomach and just in front of it, you'll notice the different colors. Like there's different shades of what looks like a washed yellow, a bit of white, and then of course, if you look at the sandy color, that brown. Now look at how well this leopard like blends into that. So if you look at the like between the ears all the way to the middle of the back, you'll notice it's a bit darker in color. And it's contrasted with that little bit of white on the side of the belly. Krishna, with leopard, it all depends. So sometimes the males, they can get up to around about 13, 14 years. It also depends on if there's any significant injury that they might get during that time that could affect it, or possibly if there's any other pressure from other males in that area. But then normally the females, they can go up as far as 18 years. I mean, the average would probably be around 14, 15 years. But I mean, you do get the odd occasion where they might just push the boundaries a little bit more. So 18 and possibly a year or two more than that.
Welcome back, everyone. Look at what we found. Just as we've been passing between the areas of thicket into the different clearings, we've managed to find this beautiful brown hooded kingfisher. Isn't that just the most beautiful thing? Look at that beautiful red beak and that turquoise back, little turquoise tail, and that brownish head. And look at how it's perched, everybody, up on that little limb there. And it's right on the edge of the thicket. Kind of on the ecotone, the change in habitat between the thicket and the grassland. And it's sitting up there, busy scanning the surrounding grassland, looking for any potential prey. It'll be looking for things like insects. James, you're asking what other bird species we could hope to see in this particular area. So James, with these little patches of grassland here, we could see things like white-winged widow birds, both the yellow-fronted and the lemon-breasted canaries. Also more common birds like African pipits. The list goes on and on. James, also in these thickets, things like yellow-bellied green bulls, gorgeous bush shrikes, pink-throated twin spots, which is a very special bird to this area, endemic to the Maputo-land coastal plain where we find ourselves. Look at how this little kingfisher, though, has got his head cocked. He's scanning the ground very carefully. And if it sees a little grasshopper, or even something like maybe a little sand lizard scurrying between patches of cover, it will drop down onto it and grab it. Striped horse, you're asking why this is called a kingfisher. And striped horse, I think you're making reference to the fact that this particular kingfisher doesn't really eat fish. So it gets its name from the rest of its family, the other species of kingfisher, most of which are known for catching fish. And they'll hunt either from a perch like this, or in the case of the pied kingfisher, which we get here, it will hover above water and then dive into the water head first and catch the fish. All right, we're going to leave this kingfisher to continue with its hunt for the afternoon, and we're going to go see if perhaps that mother cheetah and her youngsters are on the hunt too.
Thanks, Damon. I'd love to go do some birding in Phinda. It's such a diverse place. I love birds, but here we are with our elephant still. And on close inspection, you can't see it too clearly now, but she actually had tusks. You can see on the right there, just if she turned slightly, the tusk is broken. So just like people, I suppose, some people have got better teeth than others. Tree, that's a great question. How will the young Ellie learn how to strip bark if this one doesn't? Well, this one had tusks. There's evidence of the one on the right being broken, and the one on the left, I can't see any remnants of it, but it's possible that she broke them off through stripping bark at one point, so she still knows how to. Other elephants in the herd would definitely be able to do it, and they will actually learn from each other. She'll obviously learn from Mum most of what needs to be done, but there will be other elephants around, and when the bark stripping happens, there'll probably just be a little bit of a tutorial given by another elephant, which is very, very cool to see. But she's showing the youngster all of the forbs. You see this forb? Yes, that one, into the mouth. And the one at the back has got small little tusks too. They don't have very big tusks for quite a while, so they learn how to survive off of all the other stuff. And then I suppose bark stripping becomes something that they learn how to do, and it becomes very tasty and medicinal. Talking about medicinal plants earlier, there is enormous amounts of medicinal value in trees, in bark. And when you see elephants damaging trees, you quite often see a few of them hanging around. A big one pushes it down, and a few of them move around to feed on the spoils. It takes a fair bit of practice to learn how to push a tree over. Not every elephant can do it. She's very relaxed. Just going to let you listen to the sounds of her moving here. As you know, elephants are not territorial. They have a very large home range, which means that they move in relation to food and water, and females moving in different sort of locations or different distributions to males, because the females have to make sure that they're moving in relation to the needs of the youngsters. The bulls can hang out in different areas to the females where the quality of the vegetation is not as good, but there's a lot of it. Females normally keep to areas of high nutrient quality, and they can't go too far from water because these little guys, they struggle to keep up. But you see, right behind where Mum was, picking up little forbs she dropped, knowing exactly what she'd been eating. And there's a smell to it. I don't think they look at the forb and go, oh, I know this forb, like we do when you look at plants. They smell it. Just like picking up a ripe peach or a ripe pear. All of you know what that smells like. You don't need to have eyes to know what a peach smells like if you've experienced one before, or a strawberry. And so these animals moving through are picking up all these smells, and they learn, oh, that's good. Oh, no, Mum never told me to eat that one. Hello, good. Now, if you want to know about that hole in the ear, that is for when she goes out on weekends to wear the earring. It won't affect the hearing. That flap of ear is actually all there for heat and for heat reduction. The ear is actually right there in the middle. You can see that the hole in the middle there, where it's a bit darker. Oh, hello, Mama. We've been here the whole time. You can see it there where all that hair is. That's actually the ear socket, or the hole where the hearing happens. But the large ears that go all the way out, that is all about pumping blood into the ear. And when they flap their ears, that's how they cool down. So obviously there's a slight change in the in the way the ear will move there. But this happens. They catch the ears on thorns. There's damage, but it doesn't affect them too badly. Sometimes they can injure their ear or have a cartilage damage, and that ear folds forward, and I'm sure that affects them quite a lot when it comes to preventing them getting too hot. But aren't they wonderful? Little mama and baby. They're probably saying things right there, little sweet nothings that we can't quite hear. I can spend days with these fellows. Days and days and days. Hello again, everybody. It's me. How wonderful are these ellies? I'm glad that the wind is not too strong where we are. Lovely little herd here. And we're going to stay with the ellies and send you all the way over to the east and beyond Phinda.
Welcome back, everybody. We've managed to find this mother cheetah and her two youngsters. Just look at that. Resting up on a bit of an elevated patch of earth here in the middle of an open clearing. Absolutely fantastic. Look at how she's stretching her legs out. Look at her little cub on the right of her as well, also stretching. And yawning. Looking very cozy. Just quickly, everybody, we're about to come out of our ad break with the SABC. And so I'm just going to be quiet for a second. Welcome back to And Beyond Phinda. We have had success, everybody. We've managed to find this mother cheetah and her two youngsters resting up on an elevated patch of earth in the middle of one of these open clearings with the woodland around us. Just look at that. Lying in the sun. There's a bit of a chilly nip to the air. So I think that her and her little ones are just soaking up the rays of the sun, keeping warm. Look at how close that little cub on the right is lying to its mother. It's almost in between her front and her back legs, tucked up to her belly. Nice and cozy. And look at how it's got its head flat on the ground. It's sleeping soundly and contentedly. And Vicky, you saying, what beautiful cheetah? Vicky, I don't know if I've ever seen an unattractive cheetah, but yes, they are particularly beautiful, these cheetah. They're looking very healthy. Look at their coats. Nice and sleek, beautiful, rich colors. And now, just listening to the other vehicles that found her this morning, apparently she did look like she hadn't eaten in a little while. And so what I'm really hoping is that as the sun starts to go down, or just before the sun starts to go down rather, that she maybe gets up and starts to look around for a meal. Now remember I said that we've got lots of thickets surrounding these clearings, and in the thickets there's a kind of antelope that likes to live in there called an inyala, and inyalas will often in the evenings come out of the dense vegetation into the grasslands to feed for a bit before they go back into the thickets for the night. And so perhaps that is what she'll try to hunt. Angie, you're asking at what age will these cubs, I think you mean start to hunt with their mother. Angie, they won't scavenge. Cheetah very seldom scavenge. But what age they'll start to follow their mother around is normally from about 5.5 weeks. They'll start to follow their mother around as she goes off and hunts. And they'll follow her along. And then as soon as she spots some potential prey, her body language as she starts to stalk will tell her youngsters to stay put, and then she'll hunt. If she's successful, she'll come back and fetch her cubs, or she'll call them and they'll come and feast.
Cheetah, well done, Damon. That's so cool. We do get cheetah every now and again. Where we are, we're actually just off of a road on Djuma called Cheetah Cutline. Hello, Tsabo. Well, wild elephants don't protect people, no. But elephants that are orphaned and looked after people get a very, very strong bond with people. So I'm sure if something happened, there would definitely be some defense there. But they're very defensive of their herd. So I suppose if an elephant learned to be with people and they became very sort of orientated that way, they would protect the herd, most certainly. Can you see by this first elephant you're at, Niels, there's a fork-tailed drongo sits in there waiting for the elephant to move. I love birding in these sightings. Yeah, just there on the elephant's shoulder. There we go. Fork-tailed drongo. There he goes. He's gone down to the foot and he's going to go back to the branch. That is a behavior known as hawking. He actually plunge dived onto the floor there, but these flycatchers and bee eaters, they like to sit on perches and they allow big animals to move through the grass and to disturb any insects. And as the insects move, very camouflaged insects, they fly out and catch it and go back to the same perch. So they're basically using the elephants as a flashing device, which is quite interesting. A term of symbiosis called commensalism, whereby the elephant's not affected anyway, but the bird benefits from the food. Tej, you want to know if all the herds have matriarchs? Most certainly. You will often find groups of boys together though, so there's no matriarch in a group of boys, but you'll often find that one of those boys is a little bit more dominant or a little bit more wiser and the leader. So we call that a big bull with his askari of boys that moves through and learns the ways of elephant society, how to be a boy. But generally, in a herd of elephants, the biggest female is the oldest and the wisest and the matriarch. There we go, there's a fork-tailed drongo again. Looking at the biggest elephant to hopefully see if it flushes any more insects. A very good energy-efficient way of hunting. You just wait for someone else to do the work for you. I suppose people have utilized dogs to do that as well in life, dogs to help them flash or hunt. It makes energy much more efficient. Many birds will utilize this. Bee eaters, drongos, cattle egrets. If you've ever seen a cattle egret following cows and buffaloes, they'll walk through. Because many of these insects, grasshoppers and the like, are completely unseeable until they move. And that bird will capitalize very quickly on that. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment and just allow you to listen to the wonderful crunching and snapping that's going on around us. Youngster, elephants have got an incredible sense of smell. Incredible. I couldn't tell you exactly how sensitive, but most animals out here in the wild have got incredible senses of smell. Their lives depend on it. But many animals, for survival, predators use their noses for hunting. But elephants can smell the most incredible things. I wouldn't say that their nose is as powerful as a bloodhound, but I'm not certain. But they're definitely very, very, very adept at using their nose. And trace smells on the ground or in the air are very easily picked up by elephants. I think humans, for the most part, have given up our sense of smell because of so many horrible smells out there. We don't rely on it for survival. But as soon as you do rely on something for survival, it definitely becomes very, very pronounced.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. This mother cheetah has just sat up, and I'm very excited. This bodes well for us. The fact that she's sitting up and looking around, using those fantastic eyes of hers to scan the clearing in front of her, bodes well. It means that she might, if she's able to spot something from here, like I said, she's on a bit of a raised patch of earth there, and she'll be able to see all the way across the clearing. So if a group of Inyala, like I said earlier, does come out, she'll be able to spot them and decide whether or not she's going to try and catch one. We also heard some impala on the other side of the clearing too. That's another animal that she might try to hunt. Isn't she just magnificent though, everyone? Look at this beautiful light that's falling on her. Her two youngsters. Look at that one on the right. It's been absolutely passed out since you've been with us. It hasn't even lifted its head once. Sleeping so soundly, just knowing that it's got mum nearby. Isn't she just magnificent? Miss Jin, you're asking if cheetahs sleep more or less than lions do. Miss Jin, they sleep less. So lions being kind of the top of the food chain, they can afford to lie down and go into deep sleep for long periods of time. Cheetah, being vulnerable to attack by predators like lions, they have to be a lot more vigilant and a lot more kind of wary. And they very seldom sleep deeply like lions do. They normally sleep with short little bouts where they often kind of wake with a start and look around frantically to make sure there's nothing potentially dangerous nearby. And there she sits back down. What a fantastic afternoon it's been so far there, everybody. Just seeing some of the wildlife from all over South Africa, and hopefully you got your bit of bush fix for the day. And if you would like to continue watching to see if this mother cheetah and her youngsters do go and start to hunt, you can watch us on YouTube. Just type in Wild Earth and you should be able to find us. I know that I'm definitely keen to stick with this mother and see what happens. Who knows? Maybe she'll catch something. And welcome once again to our internet audience. So good to have you with us this afternoon. Once again, my name is Damon, and behind the camera we've got Marcel. And I'm so excited, everybody. Just seeing how intently that female cheetah was looking off in the distance just now. I think that if we just give her some time, and if the opportunity presents itself, that she will try to hunt. And I'm quite hopeful. Like I said, that's the scenario that I'm hoping for here, is that, look at how alert she is, everybody. She just lifted her head and looked around. And this is good, because if she's alert and she's vigilant, it means that if something does come into this little clearing, she'll be able to spot it and then decide whether or not she's going to start hunting. Now, I know for the time being she looks very lazy and looks very kind of relaxed for now. If something does come out though, we'll watch her body language change in the blink of an eye from being lazy and relaxed like this. She'll go straight into a stalk where her muscles will be tensed. And over the last few weeks we've been so lucky to have been able to see this particular cheetah, as well as a couple of other cheetahs stalking and trying to hunt. And it's quite addictive to watch, just to watch an animal that is designed for running at high speed do what it's evolved to do. Really special. And just now there were some alarm calls coming from the north of us, from the other side of the clearing, coming from some Inyala up there. So I wonder if there aren't maybe other predators in the area on the prowl as well that have also decided to come to this clearing for the afternoon to try and hunt. The sun is starting to go down, so nocturnal predators like leopards, lions, hyenas, they might start to get active now too. And she's going to have to be wary of those. It's amazing how often, just sometimes by chance, predator paths cross. Like I remember a little while ago watching a mother cheetah in more or less this exact spot with her youngster, and we spent the afternoon watching her and her youngster grooming and playing and resting, and we left them, went off and had a bit of a drinks break and a leg stretch, and then on our way home we came past the same area. And we don't view cheetah at night, so it wasn't our intention to view her in the dark, but we came past this area and there was a male leopard that had suddenly popped out. Luckily she and the youngster had obviously seen it and vacated the area, but it just shows you what these clearings can attract with the abundance of inyalas and impala here. All the different predators in the area know that, and so they will often come and hunt through here looking for potential food. But we're going to start playing the patience game, and hopefully we are rewarded this afternoon.
What a majestic elephant bull. So as we arrived here, there's quite a big apple leaf that was in front of, well, not a big, but probably twice the height of this elephant. And this elephant just basically wrapped this trunk around it and used his tusks and just broke it down so that it's almost like the same level as his mouth, so that he doesn't have to reach up to try and get some of the leaves. I think sometimes they do misuse that strength of theirs just to make life a little bit easier for them. But it almost looks like, if you look at that eye, that there's a little bit of moisture on the inside. Now sometimes with elephants, if they do like flick a lot of sand or dust onto their backs, they often get a bit of sand in their eyes, and then often you might just see the sleep with it. But for now, just look at the size of his tusks and even the color of it. It probably suggests that at a stage he was having a nice little mud wallow at a stage, or flicking, not mud wallow, but more flicking mud onto its back, maybe on the side. And of course, after a good drink or a little bit of splashing in the water, often they tend to go into an area and start feeding. But look at the wrinkles on this one's trunk. Like if you look between the eyes, you can actually see quite a bit of the wrinkles. And then as you go down the trunk, of course you'll find more and more. And it all depends. I mean, it's basically a group of muscles that are like really contracted, and if it need be, you can stretch it out all the way, like up onto a tree to try and get to some of the leaves. You can actually hear when he's pulling the leaves, like wrapping the trunk around and then pulling it slowly off. Shriram, with the whole body of the elephant, you'll notice there's quite a bit of, like, it looks like wrinkles all across the elephant, and it almost looks like the elephant's skin is several sizes too big for it. So it has a function. Of course, the bigger the surface area, the more heat you lose. Imagine having a very thick skin in the warm African sun, how warm it must be. So by having a skin that's several sizes too big, there's more surface area to lose heat. But also, other thing is the moisture gets trapped in those wrinkles, and as the wind blows over it, it slowly, or it helps to cool down the elephant. So it all plays part in helping to keep this big animal cool. Even those big ears, you can notice there's quite a lot of veins. Like you'll probably see it more clearly behind the elephant. Like from the back, you can often see it. But even like this, you'll notice all those, looks like little straight bumps on the ears of these elephants. And so as they move that, it helps to cool them down. Also, like with a very thin piece of skin and the blood goes through that, it also helps to cool down quite a bit. To every specific feature of this elephant is designed to help it in some other way. Tusks as tools, the skin to help lose some of the heat. If you look at the position of the eyes, and even like around the eyes, you'll even notice the long hair, so that that elephant doesn't accidentally prick out its eye as it's pushing into a tree or trying to move some of the branches to get to the leaves. can just hear him as he's maneuvering. Like, I wonder if there's maybe, if he's still feeding off that tree there. Now, that tree's called an apple leaf. Or has he now found a nice sweet patch of grass, maybe underneath where that apple tree is? You can just hear him maneuvering that trunk of his, like in between. You can just hear the branches as it's like rubbing up against his trunk.
It is a mongoose in the shadows. It has decided to pick the exact spot where the shadow of the tree is cast onto this termite mound. This is the den that Ribbon was using before she moved to the second one, and I was just going to go check up on them when I saw that a whole lot of mongoose were playing around it. I thought they were very, very cute. They've actually been using the den entrance that we are used to, and it feels so strangely large compared to their little bodies. And just adorable. Ooh, ooh. You're a little one, or littler rather. They're making very small squeaks. I'm going to be quiet so we can listen. I don't know if you heard that there were almost puppy-like sounds. Like that. I'm sure they're very happy that it's nice and sunny now, because they do not like the cold. So they have a nice opportunity to forage at this time. It is going to get chilly again as the sun sets. They're looking very intently on something. Hi, Crafty. You'd like to know if the mongoose and the meerkats are related? They certainly are. They're both in the family Herpestidae. They certainly are related. They're small carnivores. In fact, I saw one of them standing up like a meerkat just a little bit earlier. And just visually you can see that they are related. Tiny little squeaks. Very, very cool. I actually wonder if...
News station checked around cruise camp.
I actually wonder if perhaps there are little pups around, because it's a very pup-like sound that I'm hearing. Very, very cute. Well, perhaps there are some pups and we should check this mound regularly, but I'm going to head off and check on our hyenas and see if they're home.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Thanks, Trish, and welcome back, everybody, to Chitwa, where we have caught up with Tswalu's 2 cubs. Oh, what perfect timing. This is the boy, and the girl is just around the corner, I believe. Yeah, that's the boy. How gorgeous is he? And they're just over a year old, everybody. What, a year and a month or 2 months, somewhere around there. I think they were born in June of last year. How cool is that? We've got 2 leopards. Okay, we're going to try reposition. My name's Steve, by the way. I'm joined by Niels on camera. You never know what's going to happen when you go out on drive. And we are on Chitwa, as I said before. And let's try and just reposition ourselves so that we can show you what these little leopards are up to. Last time I saw Tswalu's 2 cubs was, I think, in December or so. And they were still quite small. They were up the tree. BK and myself were with them. I think it might even been earlier than December. It's hard to keep track sometimes. Where are you, my boy? Now this is where leopard camouflage is an absolute treat. They're very good at that, you see. They're very good at slipping. Hello, Tswalu. Oh, very good question. Cheetah and leopard. First of all, Tswalu, they're spelt differently. I'm being cheeky. Leopards have got rosettes on the body. Have you got them, Niels? Leopards have got rosettes. Cheetahs have got spots. Now, I know the leopards have also got spots on the face, but for the most part, the body's got those sort of rosettes that go with a bit of bronze inside. It's not a solid black dot. They're a little bit bigger. They're a fair bit stronger as well. They're not designed for running as fast as a cheetah does. A cheetah's got very sort of a weaker build. Yeah. And the cheetah's got this very long tear stripe down the nose. Okay, well, he's vanished. So Ralph is over here with the female. Should we go have a look, seeing as we had a good look at this little boy? He's just hiding in the bush here. I'm just gonna speak on the radio. Ralph, can I join you? My daughter's just gone into the thicket here.
Everybody, I'm out. You can check around where I was talking about. Looks like she was coming towards the brother.
Okay, copy, thanks. Okay, well, we're going to see if we can find the female for you now. Hopefully, we managed to do so.
Welcome back, everyone. It looks like our mother cheetah and her 2 youngsters are starting to stir just a little. Look at that little cub on the left rolling over onto its back. And just like with the other cats, with the lions, with leopards, how often we've spoken about how yawning and stretching is often an indication that a cheetah or that a big cat is about to get up and start moving. It's much the same with these cheetah. They'll stretch and they'll yawn and they'll groom, and they often do that little maneuver that little cub on the left just did. They'll roll over onto their backs and then roll over again. And then it's often quite a sudden little jump up and off they go. But look at the 2 on the right. Mom busy grooming her son and him grooming her back. Look at how they're licking each other's faces. Isn't that just so precious? Oh, Mom giving off a bit of a yawn. The cub still licking Mum. Again, just shows the strong bond that exists between a mother and her little ones. He looks so sleepy though. This is the first time, everybody, that he's lifted his head since we've been here. He has been absolutely passed out. Oh, look at them cleaning each other now. Using those tongues of theirs, very rough tongues, almost with like little opaque hooks on them, to clean off any dirt or dried blood from each other's fur. Look how he keeps putting his paw on Mum's head. As if to say, no Mum, 5 more minutes please. Even his sister's not getting involved. She put her paw on his back leg. Oh, she looks like she's ready to go. Coming to sniff her brother's face. And we'll see if they maybe now start to groom each other. There we go. Just gave her one little lick on the face. Oh, just look at that. Such a pretty family portrait. If she does look back at us, I hope that you're all able to get some lovely screenshots of her. Oh, there's a bit of a stretch. Oh, and if you do get some pretty screenshots, please do share them with us on Twitter, everybody, as I know many of you do. Oh, listen to them, they're purring, listen. Oh, they've stopped now. But now the little male, again, head flat back down on the ground, almost dead to the world. But there was just a little burst of purring that came from, I presume it's the little male who's lying now sandwiched between his sister and his mother. Just like a domestic cat, that kind of sound. Made in contentment. Oh, listen, he's doing it again. Mom cleaning him behind his ears, her tongue. There again, that purring. So this is exciting, everybody. Mom is going to get up now, it looks like. Oh, and hopefully she starts to walk. And just imagine if she manages to find maybe a herd of impala or a herd of nyala. We're going to stick with her. And we'll call you back if anything changes.
The one decided to come down into this Timbavati river, and earlier on it was trying to get to some of the water, so it started digging. You might even see it using its trunk maybe to scoop a little bit of the sand that's still in that hole and move it out and blow it out of its trunk. So let's just have a look. There we go. So what it will do is, so often when an elephant moves into a riverbed and there's not a lot of clean water around, it will dig a certain area. But of course, all the sand, as it's digging, the sand like drops back in. Even if there's other elephants that have been there and other animals come and drink, they might step a bit of the sand into it. So the elephant, all it's trying to do now is to clean the hole until it's nice and fresh, and there's not a lot of sand in it. And then from there on, it will start to drink. So it hasn't had a drink yet. It's still just trying to clean that hole. So let's have a look. I think maybe now he might just think that this water is clean enough to put it into his mouth. And so what happens, so with the trunk, they can't breathe through their mouth. They only breathe through their trunk. So it has to suck up a bit of water and then from there on move it into its mouth like that, and then blow it into its mouth and then drink it from there. But you can see the size of his tusks is quite long. In comparison to most of the elephants that we have seen. But if I look at his overall size, he doesn't look like too old elephant. I just think he's one of those with quite long tusks. Because if you look at his whole body, I know it's hard to reference it and to give an exact estimate of how tall this elephant would be. But in comparison to the one that we saw earlier that was pushing that apple leaf, that one was bigger than this one. So it would have been slightly older, I'm sure. But then, of course, often you look at the trunk or the tusk in order to see how big an elephant might be, but this one could be quite deceiving. I think it's still a young elephant, probably like around 35 years old, if that old, with just quite a large set of tusks. Now, what's quite beautiful about this whole scene is, so we have the elephant right there, but just next to it, left of where this elephant is, there's a puddle of water. And I'm hoping to try and see if we can show this puddle of water. So on the edge of it, there's these beautiful doves. Oh, they just flew off. It's called African green pigeons, and there's some laughing doves. But you can notice there's quite a bit of water there, but that water is so dirty at the moment, so concentrated, that the elephant decides to rather go and dig a hole right next to it where the water can at least filter through, and it's a lot cleaner than there.
Thanks, Nikki. Well, we've managed to catch up with our boy again. He went straight into the little patch of long grass, and we've driven around it 4 times until we finally saw some spots. And there we go. Once again, vanished. So we're just going to move. An adult, a 1-year-old leopard cub is pretty much okay to be with. They're just over a year now. So but I don't think these cubs have seen many people for the last little while. Obviously there hasn't been much pressure from the guarding industry. So not many tourists coming in to visit. Okay, it seems like I'm losing signal as I move, so let's quickly send you back over to Ambion and Gala.
We just try to reposition a little bit to get a different angle on this elephant bull. But just look at the color of those tusks in the sunlight. You can see like quite dirty, and then there's a few patches, probably as he's been moving through the vegetation, that has been rubbed off and actually has this quite a nice shine on it. So let's see, we spoke about possibly elephants like flicking mud onto their backs, or maybe even a bit of water. Now let's see with this elephant, normally what they do is they first would drink, and once they are finished drinking, that's when they'll scoop it up and start flicking it onto themselves. Now it has been quite a cool morning and a cool afternoon in comparison to most of the mornings over the last few weeks. So I'm sure this elephant might do it, but there's also a chance that he might not do it because of it's already quite nice and chilly at the moment. So we're already sitting here with our jackets on, but I mean, with this elephant, we never know. So it'll be interesting to see if we can learn from his behavior. But with his tail moving like that, it's a clear sign that he is pretty relaxed, not too fussed about getting anywhere pretty soon. Just the angle sometimes of that tusk and the mouth, like, doesn't it always look like an elephant has quite a big smile? Jessica, elephants, 5 years old, elephants do love fruit. And if there's a tree here called a marula tree, and they have these marula fruits, and the elephants absolutely adore them. You'll see that sometimes an elephant, if the tree is too big to push over, they'll go and hit it with their head so that the fruits can fall down onto the ground, and they'll go and pick it up and eat that. But of course, there's quite a lot of other fruits also available, but they do prefer them, especially here in December, January, February. We might have quite a bit of marula fruits around, and that's what they will be after. You can actually see around the trees as they are feeding, like all the grass is quite trampled around the tree in their pursuit for these fruits. So another little trick is with elephants, if you wanted to germinate plants, or sometimes you collect like elephant dung and you put it in a plastic bag with a little bit of water or anything just to trap the moisture and create like a little bit of a greenhouse effect. And then from there on, you'll be amazed at the amount of trees that will spring out of that. Josh, 10 years old. So with elephants, they can, especially a bull like this, they can drink almost close to 200 liters of water in a day. I mean, that's quite a lot of water. So an And even now, like, I mean, in this gulp now, he might even drink close to 100 liters of water before he eventually moves off. And the thing about it is, I think if we think about how much an elephant bull needs to eat now, they estimate that some of the biggest bulls will probably eat close to 300 kilograms of food. So maybe like just over 600 pounds. Now imagine the amount of water that you need, especially in the wintertime if everything is a lot drier, in order to help digest that food. So you need quite a bit of water in order to help the whole digestive process as well. But do you notice there's a small hole on the left ear of this elephant? And I can just imagine maybe as it in the summertime, or maybe even during the wintertime, as it was flicking mud onto itself. Remember earlier we spoke about the veins behind the ears. I don't know if everyone noticed, as soon as it flapped that ear, all the veins that were there. But so I could just imagine as it was rubbing up against the tree, maybe there was a sharp broken branch, or maybe just a sharp object on that tree. I'm sure just a broken branch. And then as it was rubbing up, probably like pierced that ear. You can see towards the edges as well, there's quite a bit of the ear that has been torn. So notice the color, the difference of the color of the tusk. So when this elephant drinks, you'll notice there's a little bit of skin that's over the tusk. Notice the difference in the color between that little patch of tusk in comparison to the rest, and you'll see the actual color of it. So let's just give it a second or two. As this elephant is drinking, look at that skin there, and as soon as it moves up, you might just see that color. Oh, I hope he wants to play along with us. Now he's just shown us his tail. Just flicking a bit of sand onto himself. Might be nice and cool. But I think for now, let's send you across to a hunt.
Welcome back, everybody. You've joined us just in time. This mother cheetah's busy stalking an Inyala bull. She's lying flat in the grass, and this Inyala's limping, everybody. She must have noticed that. This is a very big, very dangerous animal for her to try and tackle. Look at those big horns. Look at her. Oh my word, she's slinking behind the cover. She may have bitten off more than she can chew with this one, everybody. That's a very big animal for her to try and tackle. It'll weigh more than double her own body weight, but it is limping. There she goes! There she goes! Oh my word! She's chasing it! She's still going! That was insane! There she goes! She's missed! She's missed! There's the cubs there. Oh my word, my heart rate. There's the little cubs. My goodness me, everybody. I can't believe she just tried that. It must have been because that Inyala was limping. But amazing to see how once that Inyala realized that it was do or die, it had to run and had to escape from that cheetah. Even with its limp, it managed to muster up the speed just to get into this thicket. Oh, it's in here. Oh, it's still going. There goes the Inyala. The cheetah's not chasing it though. The cheetah's still here. The cheetahs are given up. The cheetahs are just in here. Oh no, she's out. She's out again. She's giving us the run around. There she goes. She's still heading off. It's amazing to see how that Inyala, being an animal that's adapted for living in thick bush and not being as fast and as nimble as something like an impala, it knew to go into the thickets to try and escape this cheetah, and it seems to have worked. But now, where has she gone? Ah, okay, Marcel says he spotted her. Tammy, you say she wasn't shy about that approach? Not at all. Completely took me by surprise that she would even try an Inyala. But like I said, I think it's just because of that limp. Here she is. Walking very alert. Looking all around her. And from here, I think she's just going to go and make sure that there's no other opportunities in front of her there. And then she'll probably call out to her cubs for them to come and join her. Okay, we're going to try and reposition and try and get another view of her.
This hyena looks like there's a bit of blood on the side of the neck. Now, I wonder if it's not smelling anything in the area. Now, earlier on, there was a smell of a carcass. So just bear with me as I move 2 or 3 meters forward. It's actually moving into the open now. You can see the way that it's tilting its head. You know what I'm going to do? There's a road that just loops around. Let's just follow this hyena, because I'm sure earlier on there was a smell of a carcass in the area, and who knows, maybe there was a leopard that made another kill. Possibly also wild dogs could have moved through the area, and this is what this hyena might be smelling. I'm just going to stop like this. Notice that the belly is also quite full on this hyena. But look at how it's moving and smelling, testing the air the whole time. You can see us looking around. Now, earlier on, as we were sitting down with that elephant, we could smell something like a carcass. But we weren't too sure what it was. And of course, just as we moved, this hyena came onto the scene. So now it'd be interesting to follow him for a little bit and see if there is anything in the area. But look at how full that belly is. As it's moving, it's swaying from like right to left, right to left. Normally looks like me after a good dinner. But I think before this hyena disappears in the distance, let's just slowly try and catch up. We won't get too close to disturb it, but I think, as we said, let's just try and get a little bit closer. It is staring off to the right quite a bit, so that might be... We just carefully scan the trees as we're carrying on. What's quite interesting, sometimes if you follow a hyena, you'll see them staring up to the sky, because they'll look out for vultures. They know if there's a lot of vultures in a tree, there's a potential kill, and that's where they're going to be heading off to. But this one, I think it's just scanning the area. There might be a smell that it's not too sure where it is exactly, and that's why it's trying to like move around and just pick up on that smell.
Good afternoon. We've had a little bit of tech issues again this side, so apologies for coming on a little bit late. But Jandre, again, just doing what he does best there, just making what are often like inanimate things like that look really cool. And it's because they are really cool. And it's great that you can join us here at Tswalu this afternoon, Tswalu Kalahari. It is a beautiful day. It's nice and warm for a change. And I think that cold front seems to have passed over, touch wood. But as we're driving, Jandre spotted this. That's why I keep Jandre around, not for his camera work, it's because he's got a good set of eyes. But so this little thing that we're looking at here is a nest of a mud wasp. So it's difficult to see from, like, get an idea of scale. But if you can imagine a golf ball or a squash ball or a table tennis ball, kind of that range, but slightly larger than those. That's the kind of size that you're looking at over there. So the adult will actually make those. It'll have a whole lot of little nesting chambers inside there, and then it'll bring normally caterpillars on this species, stash them inside there, lay its eggs on it, and then those caterpillars will actually hatch, because those caterpillars that are inside there, when the eggs hatch, the larvae of the wasp, they'll actually feed on those caterpillars.
This hyena just stopped, and we just want to see off to the right if there's anything in the riverbed. You can see it staring through the trees, but maybe there was just a francolin or something moving, and now the hyena is just trying to figure out exactly what it is before it starts moving on. But this is quite a big hyena as well. If you look at this hyena, it's very stocky. Those front legs are really powerful. The whole neck, the front part, all the way down to the back, very well designed. So often with hyenas, they're very similar built to a wildebeest, that if they need to run for long distances, they have that, the body weight is very evenly distributed to help with that stamina. Now, I think often as rangers, we do learn a lot about hyena in order to find other predators, because what they do is they have a lot of patience. They will occasionally walk, stop and listen and hear if there's any sound. Sometimes if a pride of lions or maybe a leopard or even wild dogs catch something, there's often a bit of excitement, and then they can hear that and immediately pinpoint the direction. The other thing they do is they move along the wind or into the wind, and if there's any smell, of course, they know where it's coming from. But I think one of the most important things in the bush is sometimes just to slow yourself down and wait a little bit and just listen to what you can hear going on around you, as this hyena is showing to us. Just see it moving now in the light there. Like that leopard we managed to see earlier. Do you see how the color of even this hyena, how well it blends into the grass and the patches of shade that it's moving through? But let's slowly carry on. We don't want him or her to get out of our view. I'm not too sure if it's a male or a female, but I'm sure it looks like it's walking with a bit of a purpose. Maybe it had a meal and it's going back to the den. I'm not too sure. We'll follow and see.
Well, come back everybody. We've got visual of the female now. But they're both not the most relaxed. I don't think they've seen cars in a little while. So this is as good as it's going to be for now until she calms down. Habituation is a process, and these leopards normally, if the tourism industry was booming, which at the moment it's not, would probably be being found every day. Cars would be seeing them every day. And so what happens is, after a period of time, if they're not being found every day, they start to sort of lose a little bit of that habituation that was already in part of their upbringing. So habituation goes by going a bit closer. If they react, then you switch off and stop. And eventually you get to the point where they aren't really too bothered by your movements. So I'm going to start up again now, and you'll see if she does react to the start of the vehicle. I'll switch right off again. Don't think she will, and I just want to move forward an inch so that we can get her in proper shot here. Just watch her as we start. Her eyes are watching me. Ears did a bit of a flick, but nothing too much to worry about. Let's just get her in that little gap. There we go. Oh, a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so she hasn't reacted too much to it, so that's good. She's a little bit dreamy, a little bit sleepy. It's very much easier to habituate them if their mother is around, because they'll look at the mother and be like, are you moving? She's not moving. Oh, mum's relaxed. So they relax much quicker. But first, coffee, you want to know if they've got names yet? Well, if they do, I don't know about them. Normally, leopard cubs are only named after a year, which means it should be approaching that time. And I do apologize if I've gotten the age wrong, everybody. I've only ever seen her cubs twice. So it's about that time But I think because of what's been going on, I don't think that has been addressed, but I am not sure. I'm sure one of you out there will be able to tell me. Hashtag Wild Earth on the YouTube chat stream. Update me. Have I missed it? I wasn't given any handover about the naming of these two, but very happy to have seen them. The girl a little bit more relaxed than the boy. He kept moving away from us before, going into the thickets, and then we'd go around to where we saw him, and then he'd be where we were before. So it became a bit of a game of cat and mouse. Excuse the pun. It was completely deliberate. She's beautiful, isn't she? Now, you would not see that if you're driving. You would not see that at all. You would just drive straight past. You might hear voices. There is another vehicle with us. We're going to stay here. Hopefully the boy comes out, and then we get to see the difference in their size.
That hyena we saw a bit earlier eventually veered off into this quite a big area off to our left, and I think what it might be doing is heading straight back to the den. I think based on that hyena's big belly, had quite a bit of a satisfying look, so I'm sure it had a big meal during the day, and it's now heading off back to the inside. But what I wanted to do is just to point out some of the tracks. Now, often with hyena, and hopefully this little tip can help everyone, and it's a little experiment you can do at home. Now, it's hard to see, but if you look right over here, like on the ground, you might just see, it looks like there's a little pad here. Now with hyenas, because most of the weight is basically on their front part of their body, so like the forearms, like the pads here, the feet, if you think about the weight of the head and the neck, there's a lot of pressure here, and so often the front pads are a lot bigger than the hind ones. So when they do move, the front ones are going to be bigger than the back legs. So this one here looks like it might be the pad from the back leg. Now, hyenas, if you look at the track, is very similar to almost like that of a domestic dog. So if I'm going to point it like this, just to point it out from here. So other than a cat, that often you don't see the claws because they have those retractable claws, the hyenas, you can actually see the claw right over there. But if you look at the back, instead of having 3 lobes, like in comparison to that of a cat, it only has the 2 lobes, which you can see there. Now, one of the key things that I've learned from a very old tracker is how to tell the difference between a cat and possibly a dog track, just by drawing a circle around it. Now, apparently they say if you take the circle, or let's say a dog track, and you draw a circle that touches all the claws, that touches all the pads, it will form the shape of an egg. And if you had to do a cat's track, so touch all the corners of that track, like the outer lines, it will form a exactly round circle. So if you try this experiment at home, so if you take a cat track and draw a circle, it should be round, and if there's a dog and you pull a circle around it, it should look like an egg. But I just thought maybe for those who are keen on trying to experiment, but so these are some of the things that we look out for. And you also notice that the pads right over here almost look like they are kidney shape with that of a hyena, not as perfectly rounded as compared to a lion, or as in comparison to that of a leopard that you can see right there. Alright, but I think for now, this hyena has moved off, so there's no use in trying to follow it anymore. From here on, we'll probably start heading down in this direction and see if we can find some more signs of possibly lions. We haven't seen any lions for the last, I think, day or two. And then after that, possibly see if we can go back to that male leopard for this evening.
We are just having a bit of an appreciation for the bush at the moment. The sun is really nice and soft. Beautiful silhouette of trees. And I've actually just been sitting here and listening, see if I can get any clues. hope that you are able to hear me. Everything looks good. BK is on it. Yay, I'm back. Or I should be back. Should be able to hear me. Which you don't actually need to in this particular segment because I'm just appreciating. Beautifully silhouetted trees and the soft sun and the grass. Looks like it's almost got little lights inside of all of the inflorescences of the grass. It really is magic. It's quite quiet out here today, or this afternoon. I was hoping to hear an alarm call or two. There's some guinea fowl not too far away. I always like to position myself in a space where I can watch for quite a while, and I know that there'd be animals around that would alarm if they saw something. There's the slightest, most gentle breeze. It is not frigid like it was this morning. I have swung past the den, and there are no adults around, but there are tracks all over. Plus we did see a ribbon this morning. But it has been a little bit cold for the cubs to come out. A lot of being out here has to do with luck and judgment and being able to predict, sometimes just going with a feeling. Of course, timing. Sometimes we might just miss the clan at the den, and other times we may just take a random turn because we feel like, and just knock into a leopard. Veronica, you say this is a very romantic scene. Isn't it just? There's something very kind of ancient and deep and romantic and very rich about the African bush. And it never ever gets old.
So what I've done, I've taken a slightly different tack. The meerkats went off foraging, and crazy as it sounds, they actually took those pups with them. So we're going to go back there tomorrow morning, and we're going to get those pups again. We've left Veronique up there looking for them, the meerkat habituator. And but I'm desperately in search of two things. Number one, the Shelby family, Shelley and Sheldon. Shelley is the female, Sheldon is the male, and their surname Shelby. We saw them again coming down this road. The male flew straight over the car and dived slap bang into the middle of this massive block over here. I am determined now more than ever to find the shelduck nest. If it's the last thing I do, because that is going to be insanely cool. I promise you, very few people have ever seen these duck nests. But anyway, so now I'm also looking for African wildcats still. But while we were driving, I just spotted the little thing tucked in at the base of the tree over there. And I was getting all excited, thinking, oh, maybe he has a wildcat on the... Maybe there's a wildcat there, but it's not. It's actually a spotted thick knee. The old name, those of you may be familiar with some of the older South African bird names, was a dukop. So it's a spotted thick knee now. It used to be known as a spotted dukop. And so they incredibly well camouflaged. They are nocturnal birds. So this bird is only kind of starting to wake up now. Probably another 2 hours he's going to be up and going. So, but those are the kind of things that we're looking for. These small, obscure little animals and birds and other creatures that are really doing an incredibly good job at hiding away. And, but hold thumbs. Let's get this wildcat. Come. And a duck.
Thanks, Dylan. Well, we might get both of them in a shot in a second. This one has spotted her brother. She's trying to sneak up on him. Hello, beautiful. Oh. She's trying to be very delicate. He knows she's coming, though. She's going to take her. She's going to go straight to him, so let's just stay exactly where we are. We've been talking a bit and using the radio and moving the car a little bit, and it's a process of habituation, and she hasn't been reacting, which is a good thing. And now she's stopped. I don't want to start now. I thought she was going to go and attack him, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. So let me move up slightly so that we can get another look at her. Watch both of them when I start the car. None of them reacted. It's a good thing. There she is. And if you've got a shot of him, Niels, and you feel like it's better than that one, feel free. He's in a little bit of the long grass to the right. Sorry about my brakes there. Ah, beautiful. Such wonderful images. Oh, that's all right. There's a branch in the way. That's no problem. We've got a beautiful shot of her now. He's been a little bit hard to get on the camera. When we first started with him, I think he felt like we hadn't spotted him yet. No, she's digging. Is she going to have a pee? No. And something you see leopards do, lions do, they sometimes cover stomach content. I've seen Tlalamba cover Tingana's poo. Okay, he's lying down. I'm just going to move up slightly so we can get another view. It's a very delicate and gentle process, everybody. There's never any rush. You know, we'll get to see them. Oh, she's jumping for him. There we go. Yes. Now they're playing together. You're right there, Niels. Yeah, they're playing together. There we go. Now, that's relaxed behavior if they play together like that. Sorry about my brakes. You see the size difference. And boys are so much bigger than girls. How special. Very important to have a playmate. It takes a lot of pressure off mum if you've got a playmate. As you saw with Thandi, with Tlalamba, she would always play with Thandi when she came back, and Thandi used to get quite grumpy. Whereas here, these two can play with each other. I don't know if you can tell the size difference, but if he stands up, you'll see it. Hello, Lulubelle. You know, there's not a hard and fast rule. Oh, isn't he beautiful? Not a hard and fast rule, but from a year onwards, they start becoming more and more independent. But really, from a year and a half, sort of 16 months or so, they can survive on their own. But they can stay a little bit longer, but that's the general sort of rule, even up close to 2 years, but they start getting a little bit too feisty, and mum starts getting a bit more aggressive, and the bigger the cub gets, the more it eats, which means mum's got to share, and leopards are not very good at sharing when it comes to food. I remember the early stages with Tlalamba. Thandi used to catch the food, and then she would eat. And then when Tlalamba went to go eat, Thandi would go sit away from it and not watch. So she didn't feel jealous, I suppose. But having 2 cubs means that they might even become independent earlier, because it'll be very difficult for mum to provide food for both of them. And so she'll stay away for longer and longer, feeding on her own, and they'll be forced to start catching food on their own, which means that they will start sort of becoming a bit more independent. And the boy, he could be pushed away when a new dominant male comes through, or the dominant male of the area decides to say, move away. Whereas the young female could stay a little while longer. She'll actually carve out a territory from her mum, and she'll probably be staying quite close to where we are now, all depending on which section of Sibuyi's territory she's given. Oh, wonderful scenes. I think they maybe feel a little bit more comfortable together. We are truly blessed in the Sabi Sands. As I said, when you go over to Chitwa, you never know what you could find.
Welcome back, everybody. The mother and the youngsters have reunited after Mom's attempt to catch that big Inyala bull. And they took a few minutes to rest, but it seems that Mom is on a mission again. Look at how gingerly she is walking towards that little grove of young tamboti trees. And the cubs, recognizing that body language, they've hung back a little bit. They're sitting watching. And for the longest time, the cubs have been staring into the woods where Mom currently, or just beyond where Mom is standing. We can hear the sounds of an elephant bull busy feeding in there, busy breaking branches. And I wonder if there's not maybe an Inyala or a Deka that's following in the wake of this elephant, just feeding on all the branches and leaves that it's been dropping as it feeds. I can't see for now what it is that she has seen, everybody. I'm going to use my binoculars just to scan carefully into those tamboti thickets. Probably will have noticed that she's now in shadow, so the sun is rapidly heading towards the horizon. The shadows are lengthening, it's getting darker. This is the time of day when these Inyalas normally come out onto these clearings to feed for a little bit before dark. So I wonder if that isn't maybe what she's seen. And although her speed will be her advantage over an Inyala in the open clearing, with whatever she's stalking being in that thick bush, that will afford her the opportunity to get very close to it. And obviously the closer she gets, theoretically the better her chance of capturing whatever it is that she is stalking. Now for the time being, it seems like she's even a bit unsure about what's going on here. See how she's taking the odd cursory glance over her shoulder, just making sure that there's nothing that she's missed behind her. But her ears are still pricked. Oh, she's going into the bush. Looking very interested. And we're going to have to take our cue from her now, everybody. If she does run, I still haven't seen what it is that she's seen, but hopefully if she does chase, we'll be able to get a bit of a view of it going on. She might chase it up the other side of that little ravine. It looks like she's looping around. There she goes, looping around. And once again, we can't move here, everybody. I know that we can't see too well for now, that we can't upset the balance of predator and prey here, or the balance between predator and prey. If we move, it could give either cheetah or whatever it is that she's stalking a bit of an advantage. So we're just going to have to sit tight. I can hear some bushes rustling down there. Oh, the cubs are running. What are you doing, cubs? You're about to ruin it. What is going on here? The cubs moving around like that, they could easily give her away if they're not careful. Oh, Mom looks like she's still interested in there, but she's seemingly quite hesitant. I wonder if the bushes maybe not just a bit too thick down there, or maybe she thought that she could hear, or maybe whatever she was stalking wasn't what she was hoping it was. Perhaps it's something a bit too large. Maybe a big rhino. Oh, the tension is at least eased. Whew, jeez. Those cubs though still seem interested, so I wonder if there's not maybe some kind of large animal that's feeding down in the thickets down there. Like I said, I could hear something rustling in the bush. But even she still seems relatively... Oh! And the cubs are a bit jumpy. I wonder if they're not a bit confused by what's going on. I keep watching Mom's body language. But I think she's decided that whatever is down in there is not worth her effort. Whew! Another bit of a heart rate spike, courtesy of this cheetah for this afternoon. We're going to see what she does from here. I think from here she'll probably come back towards the open clearing and settle down in a bit. But if she does try to continue hunting down there, we'll call you straight back, everybody.
We've got our leopards on the termite mound. How beautiful is that? I think they've spotted some impala in the distance. How beautiful. It was such a gorgeous shot. Brother and sister, you could actually quite clearly see a moment ago how much bigger he was than her. This is the boy. There we go, Bex, that's what you wanted. Look how the little one's looking around the brother's legs. Big brother, you'll always protect me, won't you? Yes, of course I will, sis. Of course I will. Until I get pushed away and go on my own adventure. That is Chitwa Dam in the background. Okay, there we go. Look how beautiful she is. Okay, I'll look this way. You look that way. Magical. Well, everybody, what a day it's been. I couldn't we have found this for the SABC show. Doesn't matter now. We've got it for all of you. Now, why don't you all send me through a one-word tweet and let me know how this image makes you feel. You can see the female on the right, male on the left. They're looking off into the distance. Where is Mum with the food? We are very blessed. Sorry, Bex, I only got the end of your question there from Shenzi. Didn't get the whole question. Hello, Shenzi. You want to know about why cats have a white chest and underside? It's probably to do with cooling. The white light reflects off, the white fur reflects light, so it possibly helps with cooling. It's very hard to say exactly. Lions, when they turn over, their belly is white, leopards as well. The whiteness is actually very conspicuous, so it's very easily seen. If they were lying on their back, you would see it quite easily, whereas the darkness on the back is very camouflaged. But it's a good question as to why exactly it's white or paler. It's probably also a bit softer too. Oh, there's big teeth there for a little one. Well, there's definitely white throughout the coat though. Top of the eyes, around the mouth. Now, a little bit of yawning has taken place, so we can possibly expect maybe a little bit of play shortly. Or a little bit of movement.
I'm just loving this moment that we're having here with this sable. At the moment, it looks like a donkey with his head stuck in the bush here, but you can just see his horns glinting there. But he's been walking slowly down the road ahead of us, and just with that backlight, and like I say, the sun is shining off the tips of the horns. It's been very, very pretty. But he's really pulling a blind on me now. You see the tail constantly twitching. That's almost certainly for these what we call hippoboscid flies or louse flies. A lot of our animals here, they feed on a lot of our animals here. They blood-sucking flies, and they don't have a painful bite. It's not like those some of the horse flies that have actually got a very painful bite. These ones you barely even feel, but it can leave quite a welt. And our sable and roan seem to be particularly susceptible to them. So what he's doing is actually getting some browse, because these are mixed feeders, so they'll actually graze on, they'll feed on grass as well as leaves and twigs. Yes, that's beautiful. There we go. Hey. So that's what he was doing with us earlier, just ambling slowly down the road there. But look at those horns. They're like rapiers. Or scimitars. What a magnificent animal. That is just something that you don't see often on any reserve these days. Chances are, is this antelope's horns symmetrical? They are pretty symmetrical. The one on the right, in other words, now on the right hand side of the screen, his left horn looks fractionally longer than the other one. But it's difficult to say from this distance, but that's almost as symmetrical as you're going to get. And sometimes those horns actually curl so far over, they actually touch the back of the animal. We were watching those two bulls having a bit of a standoff at the waterhole the other day, and that older bull, his horns actually touched his back when he had his head down like that. So, what a setting, eh? And yet Tswalu was also waxing lyrical about Africa and its beauty and that kind of stuff. And it really, really, really is. It's very special.
I can't agree more. Like, how beautiful is Africa? So we were so fortunate after doing a beautiful drive along the river to come back to this leopard, and of course, like with the sun setting behind him and having him up in the tree on that impala carcass. But look at how thin that branch is where this leopard actually started or maneuvered itself around. You can see that front paw is like wrapped around the one branch, and then I don't even know. I think the tail might be on another branch, just the base of the tail, almost sitting with his bum on top of that branch. Here he goes, actually getting up. I wonder if he's going to try and move down or even reposition that carcass. Be interesting to see how he gets down. I mean, that's a very thin branch. You can see he's almost using that as a vantage point, just to scan and make sure there's no other leopards or anything around, or a hyena. Now he's on his way down. Look at that. How beautiful is that silhouette of that leopard? So he's probably just thinking in his mind, what's going to be the easiest way to get down? See how he's just chimneying him like his way down. And for a leopard, often, like, it's really important. They can't just jump from the top because they don't know what the tall grass, what could be underneath. Now, I just want to see where this leopard will go. Like, look at how easily it just disappeared. There might be a chance that he might come down back into the riverbed and lie down here in the sand, but there's also a chance it might move to the back. So let's just give it 5 or so minutes and see if we can see this leopard moving. One thing we could be looking out for in this tall grass is possibly that white tail as it's moving through the tall grass. It might lift it. So that's what... Oh, I can actually see that white tail. Just where it came down. With this leopard, he'll probably get a little bit bigger in comparison to his now. And then after that, he'll almost like start putting out to the side. So he'll become a lot more stocky. His neck will become bigger, like his whole body structure. But for now, he is still young. And it's only going to be from 6 years, maybe 6.5, 7 years, where he's going to be in his absolute prime. Now, I think... I just want to hear from Owen. Owen, did you see it on that side, or was it more to the left? I think so. You see, if you move left, there's a dead branch there. You can just see that the leaves. So if you go from there, go slightly to the right. So just straight there, and a little bit up. So around about in the middle of the screen here earlier on, I saw the tail of the leopard. So it might be just lying down on the base of the tree there. What we'll try and do is maybe go around soon. So Claire, with the leopard, often if they do jump out of the tree, the chances are very good that they are going to land on their feet. I have seen a little cub the one day falling out of the tree, and it was like trying to grab hold of the branch, and as it fell, like you could only see, like it was facing with its back towards the ground, and as soon as it released, it turned around and landed on its feet. So like a normal cat, it will definitely try and land on its feet. But I think what we're going to do from here is we're going to try and maneuver our way around and see if we can get on that side and possibly see if I can get another view of this leopard.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Here's the boy. And there's the girl. Getting a little bit more active now that it's cooling down. Apparently, Sibuyi killed an impala yesterday. and dragged it onto one of the decks at Chitwa. Just been chatting with the owner there, and it's quite crazy, isn't it? So probably all three of them, including these two, were on the deck feeding, because he says that Apala's already finished, and they're going, "Mum, where's more?" And we've all seen, hey, leopards take a few days to eat their meal, and I suppose it looks quite easy for us when we see a leopard kill. We think, oh, it's so easy, but they miss an enormous amount of the time. So when you're a mum feeding three, and one of them's a boy, life becomes a bit tricky. I remember my mom saying when my brother and I moved out how much money she saved on expenses. You don't realize it until you stop having to do it. Okay, so we're just going to stay with her. The boy's just crouched down and gone into the long grass in front of us there. I don't know if he's seen a bird or something. Roxy, you reckon look like more arty, the facial features? I've been trying to figure out who and what. I don't know. I mean, it's got a bit of an Anderson look to me, but I'm really no expert of these leopards up here. Some of you out there who actually knows who the father is of Sibui's cubs, I don't know. I don't know who it is. We're going to have to, when she was covering her brother's poo, I nearly drove on it. I should have got one of my little tubes and popped that poo inside of the tube, and we could have sent it off to Panthera, and they could have told us who the dad is if they don't know already. Obviously, we can speculate if people have seen individual males mating with the mum, but only once DNA analysis is done will we know for certain. But as I said, I haven't had any updates recently. Oh yes, scratch. Scratch and sniff. Oh, she's going to stalk. Are you ready? I can hear some francolins. Her brother is scaring some francolins towards her. Let's see if she has the potential to catch one. I can't see them yet, but I can hear them. Be a great meal for a little leopard. Niels and I are going to stay right here and see what happens.
That male leopard just came down from the top of the tree, and remember earlier where we said we possibly spotted him in the thicket, so it just came down, and I think he might have a bit of an upset stomach, and into that hole, and it looked like he might have just gone and relieved himself a bit. But of course now he's out again in the open, in the riverbed, and I wonder if he's going to stay here like around that carcass for a lot longer, because it doesn't look like there's much left. But there were, earlier on, we spotted a hyena at the top of the bank there. So I think he's just moving away from it so that the hyena would probably not surprise him, because it looked like quite a big hyena. can still see, I mean, because he's young, he doesn't really have a very thick neck, but for his size, like in comparison to the head and the shoulders, he has a pretty decent sized neck. And imagine now in a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years from now, how big this male is going to be. He might not even be in this territory anymore, because the older he gets and the more dominant, the more likely he's going to start marking his territory. And then, of course, the bigger leopards in the area are going to start pushing him off. So I'm just hoping that he probably stays here at Ambiyana and Ngala and doesn't move off the property. But you never know with a young male leopard where he might eventually end up. And I mean, in comparison to the cheetah that you would have seen with Damon today at Ambiyana and Pinda, I mean, how much different is the leopard in comparison to the cheetah? Because the cheetah, you can imagine, being the fastest animal, had to give up something, gave up size and strength. And because of that, it has that ability to run really quickly. Whereas a leopard, it would almost be like a combination, if you had to compare it, between a lion and a cheetah, where it's fast, but yet strong and powerful. It's just the sounds at the moment are just so beautiful. You can hear the aramilk babblers, some of the birds calling in the back. You might even hear some of the doves that are flying over. Tad, it all depends on, of course, the size of the impala, as well as how hungry that leopard might be. So sometimes, I mean, let's take this male as an example. So he's already eaten quite a bit, and if he was still hungry, he would have been up in the tree feeding off that impala. But there's not a lot left. But now, if he had to go to water, and suddenly there was another hunting opportunity, and he was successful, he would just drag that impala up in the tree, and it might last him for the next 4 or 5 days. But if he was really hungry, it might only last him a day and a half, maybe 2 days. With a young male like this, if it's a small impala, might not even last them like a day. Older the leopard, it all depends on how many there might be. But I think for him, average will probably be 2, maybe 3 days an impala could last him.
I think 2 or 3 days, big male impala for sure. Well, everybody, our 2 leopards have jumped onto the dam berm, it's a wall that's here designed in the park as a water barrier. We are still in a wild area. It's completely wild. Every now and again, though, there is some infrastructure that gets put in place. Sometimes you might see telephone poles. Sometimes you might see concrete work. Sometimes you might see a lodge or a fence. It's all part and parcel of some management practices that go on. And this is designed at strengthening the wall so that water doesn't run around it and cut into the dam wall itself here at Chitwa. So just looking at this boy on the wall, a Pink Floyd song comes to me. Just another brick in the wall. You like that? I like that. Obviously, the leopards don't see it as a wall. They just see it as something to perch on. A stump, a log, a termite mound, some elevation. It's obviously not influencing their behavior too much. If anything, it gives them a little bit of a vantage point. And the 2 of them, the female's just gone over the wall and the male's watching. And they've been trying to spy out and eye out some of the franklins that have been a little bit too wily for them. Okay, so he's going to move very soon after 2 yawns. Yes. Going to turn around. Okay, let's just move back or forward a little bit quickly, Niels, and we can get him doing whatever it is he's trying to do. I think he's trying to sneak up on his sister. Well, we're going to see if we can get around and maybe get another view of these two cats.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, this cheetah has still been kind of looking on and off into that little ravine, into those dense thickets, and we've heard a couple of crashing sounds coming from the bushes there. And I wonder if it's not maybe an old buffalo bull, or maybe a rhino, like I said earlier, or perhaps even just some big Inyala bulls, and she's decided that she's had enough of trying to hunt Inyala bulls for the day. But with it getting dark now, we are going to have to leave this cheetah, so we just wanted for you all to be able to see her one last time for this drive before we leave her and her youngsters to their own devices. To settle in for the night. And I'm pretty sure that tomorrow morning will be a new day, and seeing as she hasn't been successful this evening with catching anything, maybe tomorrow she'll have some better luck. But for now, with her settling down, we're going to head out and we're going to go see what else we can find for you for the evening.
So often with a leopard, especially if it's a female with her youngsters, once the carcass gets to that stage where there's barely anything left, they'll move on. But with him, he'll try and pull off as much as he possibly can, almost until there's nothing that he can get anymore. And then from there on, he'll start moving on. But just look at the way that he's now positioned his head in the sand. It must be so comfortable. But also think about it. If you were now driving and this leopard was lying down in the grass like that, there is no way that you'll be able to see it. But I would like to know from the viewers, I know because over the last little while, the viewers have followed us, seeing the pride, seeing all the different types of leopard. And I would like to know, and please put it on some of the comments, what are some of the most beautiful features of this particular male that everyone enjoys? To me, if I can give one, I think it's just the whole pattern of his face and how delicate it is. I don't mean normally like with male leopards, they have quite a robust, hard face, but with him, quite a soft, elegant face with quite long whiskers and that beautiful pink dash on the front of the nose. So I'd love to know from the viewers, what do you think are some of the special features of this particular male? Just by the way that he's now lying down, look at his ears moving. I mean, you can barely see any other movement, but look at his ears. So I can imagine for this leopard, even though it might go into a little bit of a sleep, it is still wanting to know what's going on around it. So even though those eyes are closed, those ears will move back, make sure there's nothing that's trying to sneak up on this leopard from the back. So having that 360-degree awareness. Now, the wind is blowing from where the leopard's tail is towards the nose, and coming from that direction towards him. So he strategically planted himself here so that if something had to move behind them, he'll probably be able to smell it and hear it. But if something moved in front of him that's downwind, would normally, if something like a lion would have come from this side stalking it, it would have moved from downwind towards him. So now he'll be able to see it. So even though he is so young, he's very experienced in that, and he was able to determine and distinguish between all the different factors within the environment in order to survive. So really smart leopard. But I just wanted to take the opportunity, so have a look at where this leopard is lying down and Leader, I tend to agree with you. I think he is a gentle loner, and I can see why that's probably one of the things that you would love about this particular leopard. Also, I mean, it's just the patterns of him. Like if you look at the pattern of a leopard skin, I mean, it's quite smooth. It starts off as this like splash of dots, and then eventually it turns into these little blotches of quite a few spots, and it looks like it's been smudged right in the middle, but not smudged. I think that's not a good way to describe it. I'd say like beautifully aligned, the spots. But if we can move, I just want to show you the whole riverbed where we are currently sitting in. So from this, where this leopard is, I'm going to just try and lean out of the way so I'm not in the way. But look at basically the scene that we're looking at. So we're looking at the sun setting, but over this beautiful river here. So this is the Great Timbavati River. And if you listen to how peaceful it is, so if everyone is keen on this, like let's just take 20 seconds and we'll be as quiet as possible. And I want you to picture in your mind you're sitting here in Africa on this game drive vehicle. You're closing your eyes, putting your feet up, and you just listening. Try and listen to the leopard. Hear if you can hear it breathing. And try and listen out if there's any movement, what might grab his attention. Caroline, it is just absolutely amazing and so peaceful at the moment. So just to describe, so some of the sounds that are quite further on that you might not be able to hear. So we can hear what sounds like these fork-tailed drongos that are calling in the distance. We are hearing vultures as they are shuffling their feathers and settling into their nest this evening. We hear the occasional impala chasing one another, and also we can hear some elephants far in the distance as they are moving through the trees, breaking some of the branches.
The sounds of the bush are just spectacular. Whether it's silence or whether it's the loud whooping of hyenas and lions roaring, it's just fabulous. Or the very squawky calls of Birchall starlings and crowned lapwings, which you'll be able to hear in the background. Here we have some lovely zebra. One individual was giving its butt a great scratch on a branch when we got here. I thought that was quite funny. We've seen this group before, where that little one is, little foal. Oh. Oh, they're all a bit itchy today. That is a first. A bit of a roll, kicking up some dust. Striped horse? You'd like to know, do zebras keep the same stripe pattern their whole lives? Well, aren't you a zebra? Because that's what it sounds like. You're a striped horse. Yes, they do. It's a fingerprint. So the foals, the youngsters, they'll actually imprint on their mum based on that very unique pattern. Of course, that pattern does develop, and lines or stripes will get thicker and longer as they grow, but they do not change. And that's because it's quite a complex chemical reaction happens from the time they're just tiny little fetuses. How cool is that? And there's a layer of cells called the neural crest, from which the important molecules that create these stripes, melanocytes, migrate from. And so that doesn't really change. The only thing that happens is that they get longer or thicker. Oh, look at that. Hi, Neela. You're 8 years old. You'd like to know, why do zebras dust bath? I think that is actually what you mean. Dust bathing, or dust bathing, is a great way. Oh, everyone's doing it. Is a great way to get anything that's itchy off of you. Because have you ever touched sand and it's very gritty? And sometimes if you fall over in sand, you can get quite scratched and scraped up. If you ever fallen off your bike or a skateboard into the sand.
Gentlemen, heading west. Opposite Brown Ivory.
And it can scratch you up quite badly, and that's because it's abrasive. Because they're tiny little particles in sand. And when you get those, if you were a zebra and you get that into your fur, it gets down into your skin, it can feel quite good. And then you roll around and it creates friction and can give you a really nice scratch to any itches. They seem to be particularly itchy today because they've been scratching each other, rubbing up against the branches, and now dust bathing as well. And you can see those fly swatters are going crazy. Those being the tails, of course. Now that is a proper dazzle. Where does one zebra start? In the other end? Just gorgeous.
So we've just had a really interesting sighting. Well, the culmination of an interesting sighting. We were following this adult cow giraffe, just ambling along slowly. She was heading down towards the water. And then out from the left, from about 300-400 meters, these other two giraffes started running towards us. We actually hadn't seen them initially, but they started running, and it turns out it was two bulls running. They ran straight to that female. So I think she's actually in estrus. So these two bulls had obviously picked up her scent from quite a long way away and run. There she's relieving herself. What a relief. And then they just ran straight up to her. And this is probably the dominant bull, because the other one, as they got to her, the other one just veered off. And then this one just started following around very, very, very closely. So now he's trying to decide, is she ready to mate with or not? It'll be interesting to see if he walks after her, because then he would have made a decision or not. He's still thinking. He's trying to decide, yes or no. Come on, bull, tell us what you're thinking, man. So she's just making a loop around. I'm guessing she's probably going to go down to the waterhole, which is about 400 meters in front of the vehicle. Geez, all that running for nothing. So they ran all the way from there, joined up with her, and then now he's just stopped. I don't know what she told him, but yeah. I recognized you from last year. Butterlife was asked how many giraffe are usually in a herd, and it's a great question, a very difficult one to answer because they've got very relaxed social grouping. So, okay, sorry, there's losing interest and he's going the other way. Yeah, so you can get a big group together. You can get 20 together in the morning, and the following day or the following week they've split up again into smaller groups. So the associations are quite loose, and I think, you know, the more pressure there are on resources, probably the greater likelihood there is that you'll get these groupings. And also, depending on the accessibility of the resource. So if you look at areas at Tswalu where there's kind of homogeneous spread of vegetation of the kind that they're using, they can get spread out. But if you look at areas like the Hwanab riverbed up in Namibia, where you've got these long linear drainage lines with vegetation that's pretty much limited to a narrow belt on either side, that could force animals into closer proximity. Look at this beautiful light on these doves over here. Gendre's favorite bird is a dove, because it's the bird of peace, and Gendre loves them. And that backlighting, Gendre, is just gorgeous. What a picture, eh? And I wish you could hear it from here. Some of our colleagues may be able to point or get the noise on their mics, but this one goes. Which is work harder, work harder, work harder. Or drink lager, drink lager. But that backlight is gorgeous, eh? And still no wildcats. But we are narrowing down on the Shelby family now. We are getting closer to locating that burrow system. I have 2 weeks left to do it before those chicks start hatching. It could be a little bit longer, depending on, you know, if we, the first time that she went missing, she could have just been nest building, which I'm hoping. In which case we'll buy a little bit more time there. But yeah, these birds can be quite challenging to locate nests. So not just the shelducks, any birds. A lot of them are super, super, super cryptic, and it's always good fun trying to find bird nests. I love this time of day. I can start whacking.
Thanks to Linny as well. Birds' nests. Very interesting time of year to be looking for birds' nests. Here we go. The cub is interested. Had another vehicle join us, and she's coming to see who it is. The boy is off to the right where we left him in the bush. And this one went around, it did a big loop. Scared the life out of some guinea fowl. We're going to be in the sighting for another few more minutes as the light starts to fade. There will be no lights. Isn't she pretty? Oh yes, you are so gorgeous. Now she's just spotted her brother where we left him. Or she heard him move. Hello, beautiful. Niels, I think she likes you. Go. We don't go around there. The boy is where we left him, Niels, right there. Oh no, she's right here though. She's right here. She's going to go and say hello to him. There's definitely going to be some attention. He's gone flat. She's like, I see you there. You ready for it? 3, 2, 1. Not much of a play, but playful nonetheless. I think I just heard a scrub here. Butterfly, you reckon? A curious set. Well, it's wonderful to see two together. They got a lot of social attention, obviously, the two of them. I mean, on Djuma, when last did everybody see two cubs together? It's been some time. Okay. All the females gone down. Now, such special cats, aren't they? And to be able to spend time up close and personal with them like this is wonderful. And I'm sure he's going to join her shortly. Maybe they're going to go catch a scrub hare.
How awesome. I'm so glad that Steve has that spectacular sighting. I'm just stuck around with these zebra because they are being really, really adorable, especially this little one. They're all rolling about. At one point they actually looked like they were going to walk towards us and give us a walk by. But then they decided against it. And the whole time I just have Michael Jackson Black and White stuck in my head. Especially when they all kind of congregated in the middle of the road and looked at us, and it looked like an album cover. They seem so relaxed. Oh, definitely relaxed. Look at that. And up again. Just lovely. Aisha, you'd like to know a little bit about who leads the way in the zebra family, and in order to answer that, we've got to talk a little bit about how zebras, or what their social dynamics are. And zebras will live in a harem. That is one male with multiple females and their offspring. Look at that. And when they want to move about, they generally will take the lead from the male. And he does a lot to keep them in tow. Sometimes it can be quite violent, with biting and herding. But they seem to go where the resources go, and they don't especially take the lead only when the male moves or only when a female moves. But because of the harem setup, the male is the one, say, in charge. Oh, got a spot of suckling going on. I've seen this group before, and this little one has always gotten a bit of suckling in. but it is not always welcomed by its mother. The suckling it is. The baby is always welcomed by its mother. There it goes. I'm not sure if that was a successful suckle or not, but it should be. They're weaning, or they're weaned by about a year old. And I think that this youngster is younger than that. But perhaps the process has already started just a little bit. They've suddenly become a little bit more alert. You're quite lucky that you get to see them in infrared, because me looking out, obviously I don't have infrared eyes, but it's very difficult to see them. That's the stripe pattern working for them even in the darkness. Look at that, very still. I can hear a pole-spotted owlet in the background. I would love to see what it is that they're staring at. Maybe I'll take a drive round that end. Oh, there we go again. Quite spooky when they stare at you like that and you see the reflection in their eyes. You can hear it's very quiet out here. I don't really want to take my spotlight out and have a look. There's a youngster here, and if they are trying to be still because they see a predator, I don't want to influence that. So I'm going to drive around and have a look, so I'm not kind of catching them with the spotlight. Did you hear that? Alarm call. Behind us. Right, let's turn around and have a look. They're still staring off. Stuck in bed, you'd like to know, what do the zebras do at night? Zebras will continue to graze. They'll prefer to find a spot that's safe, and that's why quarantine is a good spot. It's open, and it allows them enough space to be able to see and be able to hear, because sound gets distorted by thick bush. And an open area like this is ideal for them to kind of settle in for the night. But that doesn't mean that they'll sleep through the night. We're the only animal that has very kind of set sleep patterns. In fact, recent research has shown that napping is a very natural thing. It's, particularly between 2 and 4 p.m. So So they may rest, but they will not sleep through the night like we will. Or like you would, stuck in bed. And they will continue to graze, but not move too far away from a safe area. Sophia, you'd like to know, why do some eyes shine in infrared and some don't? Sorry, I'm just having a look at these zebra on this side. All of the eyes that have tapetum lucidum, the thing that makes it shine, will shine in infrared, because infrared is still a light wavelength. It's just one that we can't see. And the reason you might see it and might not see it at certain times is because of the angle at which it's shining into the eye. The same goes for visible light that you and I see. It has to be shone at the correct angle to see the eye shine. There are lots of people, or some people, think that they can tell the difference between types of animals depending on their eye shine. And I'm sure there is a variation in eye shine, but to say that we see the difference is very, very specific. I wouldn't be able to tell that I'm looking at an impala's eye shine compared to a zebra's eye shine just based on color. And that would depend on the structure of the tapetum lucidum. Maybe it's more dense than other animals, but I can't say that I've experienced that. I'm just going to switch off again to have a listen. It almost sounded like it was in front of the camp area, which I'm not too far from. I'm going to investigate, so I'm going to move off towards the camp area. I'll let you know what I find.
There's a little bush baby right at the top of the screen that we found here. You can see quite small, big eyes. So let's just see which direction. Oh, there we go. The thing about them, they have these very powerful legs, so whenever you're trying to get them on the screen, they just jump out of it. So I just want to quickly see if I can still find it. Now what we need to try and look out for is a bit of movement. Now I can't see anything yet. Yeah, so we're trying to see. It's basically just sitting somewhere now in this tree. I just want to grab a light just to shine there and see if we can see this little bush baby moving. Just putting on a red filter. Oh, there it is. You know what? I'm just going to move forward a bit. So just... Oh, here it's actually back. So, oh, and if you look like a meter above the... There, here he is. I think it jumped up again. Yeah, there he is. But how amazing is that, just to close the show? I don't think we've had a bush baby on yet. You can actually hear her calling. But we just want to say from our side, like, what an amazing afternoon. Hope to see everyone soon, and stay tuned.